the biggest fight in years in MMA. I mean, just years and years and years. 2 or 3 years, and maybe 2 or 3 years in the future. It's this Saturday. It's John Jones versus Daniel Cormier. However, I got to make this point to you. It's almost gone under the radar. I mean, there was so much buzz, so much anticipation, tickets sold like crazy. All of a sudden, Conor and Floyd gets announced. You can't hear about this fight unless you're out looking for it. I mean, if you're looking for coverage on any of the big shows, from Rome to Le Batard to FS1, ESPN, listen, it is Mayweather and McGregor. And the reason I make this point is Oscar De La Hoya made this point. Oscar was so pissed that this fight was coming up because he has Triple G versus Canelo less than a month later. And he was so mad going, wait a minute, I've got the real boxing contest. I'm going to get crushed here because you guys are throwing on this unreal boxing contest. This is Oscar talking. This unreal boxing contest that shouldn't even be happening from a business standpoint. You're going to shut down us guys that actually deserve to do well. And I always resisted him even saying, I was like, hey, I don't get that, Oscar. This is just a great time to be a fight fan. Everybody wins here. You are right. You have a huge fight that you've promoted wonderfully. You made it perfectly. The timing happens to be right, which we see wrong in boxing all the time. You did such a good job. But so did the guys that are putting on Mayweather and McGregor. Well, if there's anything I learned from this Jones DC, it's there's some legs to what Oscar is saying. When one fight is overshadowing all the others this much, I mean, absolutely eclipsing the others, I can't any longer argue against Oscar because he's right. His fight is not getting talked about. It will. He still has some room. Jones and Cormier don't. Their pay-per-view, this is a million pay-per-view sale any way you slice it, except right now, they're not going to do that. In fact, they're going to do 500 to 600. They're going to do half the business just because people keep forgetting when it is. I've been in discussions with people at MMA gyms, at my own practice, saying, hey, when is DC fighting Jones? When's DC fighting Jones? He's fighting him this Saturday. But there is a truth to Oscar's point that, when all the media starts focusing on one fight, you do lose sight of some of the others. And it is unfortunate. I mean, it's a timing thing. There's no way around it. But I didn't know that was a real phenomenon. When Oscar started saying that, I go, well, come on, sour pants here. You tried to get this fight. You don't have a hand in the cookie jar here. A lot of that is true, but it turned out Oscar's point's a little bit true too.
So McGregor and Mayweather is a phenomenon. Cormier and Jones. Okay, how big was their first fight? Were they both undefeated at that point?
Well, so Jones is actually not undefeated. Joe Rogan just goes around telling everybody he is, and most of us agree that he should be. Jones was disqualified in a fight for a rule that Joe Rogan specifically, and look, Joe's got to take the weight on this. Joe specifically does not agree with this particular rule of a 12-6 elbow. It really doesn't matter if he does or not. Jones did it. It's illegal. He lost. He is not undefeated. But so many people will attempt to rewrite history, including Jones. So, well, I'm undefeated and blah, blah, blah. So, no, that's just not true. You do have a loss. So to your question specifically, Jones had that one loss that the world has chosen to put an asterisk by, though they should not. It was a loss. Nothing I could do.
Was there a huge hype for their first fight?
Yes. To remind you, they're the ones that got in the fight at the press conference when Dave Schaller goes tumbling down, and I think one of them even ended up throwing a shoe at the other one after they were separated. They got brought before the commission. They were fine. They had to do community service. Yeah, man, it was a huge, huge fight, and this one would have been bigger.
So
won't be now. Won't be now.
Okay, but this fight has bad blood.
Oh yeah,
very bad blood. I'm guessing they've already had their press conference. I haven't heard about it because, again, to your point, we've heard nothing but Mayweather and McGregor. But it's got everything. They're fighting for a belt that Cormier did not beat Jones for the first time, and now he has to defend it. And we were just watching highlights just a minute ago of their last fight, and you're saying Jones is doing everything right against an Olympic champion.
Yeah, a two-time Olympian, but in wrestling. Yeah, he didn't win the championship, but Cormier was a two-time Olympian. It was not a very close fight the first time. It was fun. It was close by John Jones standards. I mean, Daniel was in there. The rounds were close, but they kept going to Jones. I thought it was 5-0 John Jones. The official 3 judges all saw it the same way, 4-1. Jones over Cormier. So it wasn't that close in that regard. Now, Cormier disagrees. He thought he won it. He thought he did say, I let up a little bit in the second round because I could feel him fading. I wanted to recatch my breath, and once I lost my composure, I never regained it. He had said some different things where he had an opinion of that contest that is not what I saw, and it's not what the judges saw. But by Jon Jones standards, it was still a hell of a close contest. And to your point, yeah, man, there's bad blood, and Cormier has been untouched. Not only is that his only loss, no one's even gone with him. Gustafsson gave him a run for his money, but Johnson sure didn't either time. He's really been a very dominant champion. In fact, when I watch these two guys, it is easy for me to come to the conclusion that Daniel Cormier can beat him. The problem is I saw them fight, and that's just not what happened.
Well, don't the fighter rankings have DC listed as higher than Jon Jones at this point right now?
Yes, but it has
the pound for pound?
Yeah, well, no, not pound for pound has Jon Jones, but the divisions rankings has DC, but it has to. DC is the sitting champion. And people get confused on that all the time because Jones had an interim title. They actually took that away from him. He was the champion. He never lost the title. That got stripped from him. So there is a little bit of confusion there in the average fan. But DC is actually the sitting reigning world champion. And DC wants this fight. I mean, there's something compelling about that, too. He gets in the ring. I can sit here and say the fight wasn't close all I want, and I'm right. I am right on that. However, DC's opinion has to matter. And he came out of that ring saying, I can beat this guy. Give me another chance. He tried to do it 2 years ago. It just didn't happen. And then it was supposed to happen in summer of last year. And that's when Jones got hit by USADA and then had a service suspension. So there's been things that have happened. But when you have a guy like DC that was so willing, I'll put myself in here. I have never fought a guy ever that beat me. Never wrestled a guy ever that beat me where I didn't say, give me another chance. I can beat him. I can close the gap. I can make it closer. Give me a shot after that. I'll make it even closer. Give me a shot after that. I can surpass the guy. And that was the mentality. He always had that. I fought Jon Jones. He is the one exception to that. When I got done with him, John, go enjoy your championship. I'll be over here in the corner. Our gap was too big, Jacob. I could not close it. At my age versus his age, no matter what I did, I was not going to be able to close that gap. Cormier came away. He also got his ass kicked, and he got out-wrestled. He's the two-time Olympian. He got out-wrestled. I think it was 4 takedowns to 1 or 4 takedowns to, I can't really remember, it was so long ago, but Jones is the one that did the wrestling, the striking, the whole bit, pushed
beat him at his own game, yeah.
Beat him at his own game, just did absolutely everything. Then we find out he did it all while high on cocaine. I mean, this is just what happened, right? All of this comes out. So I guess the point is, when you have a guy like Daniel that's so good and so talented and so willing, Daniel Cormier can start steering that ship. He could go be taking easy fights, making the money, keeping that championship. He never did it. He did the honorable thing, the competitor thing, to hell with the money, to hell with everything. This is the guy that beat me, and I'm going to make it right. And for me as a fan, man, how cool is that? How refreshing is that?
It's kind of like those old days back when, in the schoolyard, the teacher would let fights roll out kind of thing between the two guys. Or even the bullies. They're back in the day when there would be the bully. The kids getting picked on from stuff I've read, from true stories, they didn't let that bother them. They're like, you know what? I'm going to get back up and I'm going to try to beat that punk until I can beat him. Or I'm going to find some kid who can beat him, have him train me, and then I'll beat that punk.
Sure.
And maybe they didn't even, but they put up a fight. And the bully kid would be like, you know what? I might be able to still beat this kid, but why try anymore? Because he's not afraid of me.
He earned his respect.
He earned his respect, and every time I fight him, I'm going to get a black eye for it, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to look like the loser. I might as well just make up with this guy and be friends. To DC's credit, he did get killed. Maybe let's go Jones's way. Maybe he did get killed, but DC, even if he admitted it, he's like, I can still beat that guy, like you're saying. And yes, to his credit, he's got the championship belt right now. He could play the smart nitpicky way, right, of like, I don't want to fight Jones anymore. He's had his shot, and I want this guy, the kind of thing. And more or less, I think most people would go, yeah, go ahead. You don't have to fight Jones anymore. But no, he's putting his belt on the line.
I really appreciate you saying that, Jacob, because if the roles were reversed, make no mistake, this fight is not happening. Now, ultimately, Dana might have stepped in and, hey, it's going to be my way or the highway. But if John had his druthers and John was in charge and never went through suspension, you can bet your ass he'd have ducked and dodged and come out with the excuses, and this guy doesn't deserve it, and I'm not going to give him the opportunity. He's done all of that to guys in the past. I was one of those guys, but he's done it to several other guys as well. Daniel Cormier with the strap called out the baddest dude. It was John Jones, no question. He could have gone after Jimmy. He could have gone after Bader at one point. He could have, rumbled. There's a ton of stuff he could have done. He said one guy's name, and it was John Jones, the baddest dude out there, the baddest dude to have ever done it, and the only guy to have ever stopped him. There is honor in that, and his legacy will reflect that. And these guys that are ducking and dodging, all the way down to the great Demetrius Johnson, history is going to reflect. And the record books can say you broke the record, but the rest of us that were here and saw you duck TJ, that's just going to be a reality for him. And that will not be said about Daniel Cormier, regardless if he gets another loss here. John Jones, if the roles were reversed, we'd all be sitting here as fans, leaning back, rolling our eyes, going, man, somebody get this guy in check. Daniel's the top contender. That's the fight we want to see. You're going to do the fight. And I guarantee you, John would have had a different story, and he would not have done it. He'd have stood strong. John owes Daniel a big thank you because Daniel is a sportsman that goes, hey, you're the right guy. You're back now. Let's figure this out. And we wouldn't be in this spot if the roles were reversed. We just won it.
So that being considered, it's coming up Saturday. How long does this fight go, and where do you think it's going to be? Because watching the highlights, DC was getting beat on both ends, on his feet and on the ground.
Yep.
Do you think DC just is like, you know what? Let's screw feet. Let's just go straight to ground, or is he going to try to beat Jones at his own game? Which is, from matchups I've seen that I've had a chance to watch, usually the guy who lost the first one, who got beat at his own game, that's usually what happens. They then try to take the new title defender, if you will, and beat them at their own game. Maybe it's a grudge match, maybe it's a sight game, I don't know. But does DC stay on his feet? Yeah, does DC stay on his feet for that?
Okay, so let's discuss the good news here. Daniel Cormier and John Jones, you are correct, did beat him in every aspect. He pushed a little harder than he did, so he had the conditioning, which is probably the biggest thing. It never gets talked about, but that's probably the biggest thing. John Jones outpushed him, and I don't know how because he doesn't train as hard as him, but he did out-cardio him. John Jones outstruck him, he out-kicked him, punched him, and out-wrestled him. However, the good news for Daniel Cormier is he was never hurt. Daniel never took a shot where he went down or almost went down. He never took a kick where, he flinched and had to double over, and he took some really hard shots, but he dealt with it and he pushed forward, showed a ton of heart. So that's the good news, that he could stand up with John Jones and just try to catch him and try to outpoint him. The bad news is he wasn't as fast as him. He didn't land as much as him. He didn't have as big of output as John Jones is. But Daniel could stay in either realm and be competitive. You asked me first, yes, a couple questions there, but first off, how long does this fight go? I think we see another absolute 5-round war. I don't think that that's going to change. Seeing either one of these guys get submitted or knocked down is just not something we've seen in their past, so that would have to come in as a surprise. And then the other side for DC, we know what to expect. We're not going to see a spinning back kick and jumping off the fence, and he's so dynamic and surprising. No, he's pretty straightforward. He comes in, he's a bull, he buries that chin, he keeps those hands up, he stays busy, he's powerful, he looks for that takedown. We can't say that, unfortunately for DC, we can't say that about John Jones. The one thing about that sumbitch is he comes out with something new every single time, and once we think we've seen it all, he comes out with something new. There has never been a fight where he didn't come out with something new. It has been funny to me to listen to Goldberg and Rogan call John Jones fights because Jones will do something that we've never seen before, and they have to then tell us what the name of that move is. Well, that move doesn't have a name. And I watch these guys, and it's so fun. I put myself in their shoes. I couldn't do any better. How do you call out a move that you've never even seen before? But that is how dynamic and creative and innovative John Jones is. So you can sit and game plan for DC all you want. You're going to get it right. Now, can you stop it? That's a whole other story. But can you at least prepare for it? Yeah, bet your ass you can. You cannot do that for John Jones. He comes out with new stuff. Some of it people talk about it's illegal. He's kicking guys, in the oblique, which is 1 inch away from the kneecap, which is illegal. He's spinning this way with elbows. He's coming that way with singles. He's throwing saltos over the top. No one knows what this guy's going to do. And you just can't take your eye off that. And every time he advances, fight after fight, month after month, year after year, it's like, okay, well, eventually this pot of tricks runs out. It's like music. There's only so many notes. It hasn't ran out with Jon Jones. He's going to do something in this fight we've never seen before. I guarantee.
This is like a comparison between like two hard-nosed coaches. And I'm specifically thinking of two football coaches, Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry. They used to be coaches, partners together on the same team, but Lombardi was the guy who was be like, we only run 6 plays in football, but we run them so good, we can tell you what's coming, and you won't beat us because we've run those so many times. We've seen everything come at us this way. We're just going to plow right through you. Then Tom Landry was the inventor, the creative guy who'd come up with something new every game, and everyone would be like, what the heck what just happened? And to my knowledge, I don't know if they really ever faced each other, but it's kind of like that whole hard-nosed guy who's just be like, I can do this better than anybody else. But then you got Jones over here who's like, well, you never saw this coming.
Right.
This is going to be fun.
No, I love your comparison there, and I so get it. And I subscribe to the basic one of this is what I do. Try to stop it.
It's a dare.
That's right. I'm daring you to stop it, and some of that's what Mike Tyson did. Everybody knew what he was going to do. You just couldn't stop it. Babe Ruth would walk out to the mound, tell you where he's going to hit the ball and hit it. That doesn't make that right. I've seen the gamesmen that come out there. I've seen the Jon Jones fight example, and there's something to be said for that too, but you do have to have your foot in one of those two camps. I came from a wrestling background. The two greatest colleges ever for wrestling were Oklahoma State and Iowa. Iowa had a theory that if something doesn't work, you do it again, but you do it harder. You do it harder and harder and harder and more intense and more powerful until it works. Oklahoma State's theory was if you can't fix it, forget it. There's enough moves out there. If you're trying one and it's just not coming, throw it away and move on to something else. Totally different theories. Both of them went back and forth on national championships. So no one's really to say which one is wrong. But it does seem as though you're in one camp or the other. And Jones is in the absolute element of surprise. And he delivers every time. And, there was so much. It's very rare, Jacob, that you're the best guy and the toughest guy. Because you don't ever have to be. If you're the toughest guy, that will take you to a gold medal. If you're the best guy, that will take you to a gold medal. It's once every 10 years we see a guy that's both. Jon Jones, we all thought. I was trained to fight the guy. I studied this guy, ate, slip, and breathe this guy. He was so good that we just assumed, well, he's not very tough. We're going to go out there, we're going to push the pace, we're going to get him tired, and he's going to completely crumble and quit. Seen these guys a million times. I'm fighting Jon Jones. His toe came out of his skin. Do you know about that? The bone was showing. It came out of the skin, and the fight would have been stopped. He wrapped up his foot. They tried to take him to the hospital, which means he'd have to skip the press conference. He wraps his foot himself, shows up to the press conference, does the whole thing for an hour, answers every question there is, and then goes to the hospital. So don't tell me Jon Jones isn't tough. Okay, I'll tell you how good he is, but don't try to tell me that sumbitch isn't tough. He happens to be both, and that combination, you got to stop a guy like that. You got to catch him on his chin. You got to extend and break his arm. You've got to do something and get rid of him. He's not going to go away. He's just not. So what do you do? Now, Daniel Cormier is the same way. Daniel Cormier is very good. He's not as good as Jon, but he is as tough. He'll never quit. If they want to just take time limits out and just go until somebody, you're going to see an hour and a half fight before one of those guys goes, look, I can't do another round. They're that tough. So this is where that youth does matter. That reach can be a little bit more of a thing. That speed matters, that output. That's where Jon Jones had Daniel in this last one. It was straight up output. He landed way more shots, but he threw way more shots. He worked harder in that contest. And those are variables and intangibles that are a little tougher to quantify. And I remember when that fight was going to go on, I had sparred with DC a lot, and you kind of got to keep that quiet, what goes on there. But I fought Jon Jones, and so I had my own opinion. Look, these guys aren't that close. It's going to be Jon Jones. But I had that firsthand experience of feeling them both and going hard with both of them. DC just has a different opinion. He's been in there with John Jones, and he will not hear any of this stuff that the rest of us are saying. He will not hear that wasn't a close fight. He will not hear that gap was too big. He will not hear that he was outstruck or out-wrestled. He thinks that he took his foot off the gas. He thinks that he won those early rounds regardless of what the judges said, and that had he not lost his composure, and that's a quote, that's exactly what he said, his word, that he would have won the whole thing. So I'm in. I am told, and he's not just saying it, he's willing to put his name on a contract and walk his ass out there and prove it. That's compelling to me.
And hearing all that as well, I have a hard time imagining that DC is going to allow John Jones to out-tough him or out-compete him. I have a feeling he learned his lesson almost immediately after the fight was over. He was like, whoa, this guy is tough. Like you were saying, I'm just going to have to be tougher. Because it sounds like, from what we're just talking about right here, that John Jones is the better fighter. But as we're also talking about, you can out-tough a good fighter. You can just keep coming and coming and coming. We see that all the time. So DC, I think DC is just going to be like, you can bring all you want at me, but this time you are not, this time, I repeat, not going to outwork me. I may be the more tired one at the end of our fight, but I'm going to come out on top and I'm going to make sure I'm more tired than you. Because if that's the case, then I win this fight.
Yeah, and is this USADA thing with John real? Was John getting away with something for a while until his luck ran out like Lesnar's did? Is that what was happening? Hell of a speculation, but it's also very fair to say, considering he just came off a suspension for failing an USADA test. The other side of that, and I saw pictures of John. No, he looked pretty damn good. I mean, he kind of looked like the same guy, if not even a little bit better. So maybe that's not the case. And John was being straight with us on that one. But then, you've got the Daniel side of it too. Well, here, you used a term a moment ago. You said, learned a lesson. You want to know who else learned a lesson on this card? Dana White.